Hey guys, so some more third gen content for you. We got Matt here. This is Matt's truck. Yeah, that'll cover him. So this is Matt's truck. Matt's Cranko wagon on YouTube. So this is his pickup truck. There's Matt hugging the tire. So this is his pickup truck. It's a compound truck with a NV 5600 in it. We're gonna do some front end stuff on it. So we're gonna get rid of the Y-type steering because it is garbage and he's got loose stuff. So we're gonna fix that. So we're gonna do a new steering box, which is a Cancraft steering box stabilizer, and the new steering setup. Today, with no further ado at this point, we're gonna throw you on time lapse and we'll come back to you probably with a couple little tips as we're taking stuff apart and putting stuff together. But this is a really straightforward thing when you're doing it. Just take bolts out, put bolts back in, and you're good to go. But anyways, we'll get after it here and see you in a bit. Hopefully that might have to do more light. So guys, I wanted to show something here. I guess I'm actually the wrong way around. So this is the steering that we pulled off of Matt's truck, and this is a Y-type steering. And basically what they say Y-type is because it looks like a Y, right? And then the T-type is one solid bar across the bottom and then one coming up. You'll be able to see it in the video, and I'll put a picture of the T-type steering in here. We had some technical difficulties, which apparently I have a lot with cameras because I'm not a tech guy. But anyways, so going from the T-type to the Y-type, if you're doing that swap, you will need to change your pitman arm because the angle is different. So if you're doing that, make sure you have the right pitman arm for what you're doing. Now, if the truck is lifted, most of the time it's going to have that flipped inverted style anyway, so you can use that pitman arm. With Matt's pitman arm, which I showed you guys, it's in later in the video that there was issues with the pitman arm, so we replaced it with one that I had. So it wasn't a huge deal because I had one, but something that I wanted to show. And then also on the just get back up the front. Something else, when you guys are pulling, I didn't stop and talk about this. When you guys are pulling your pitman arm or pulling a steering box, you're going to have a pitman arm puller. Now you can buy these relatively cheap. I don't have it. My cheap one actually broke. So this is one from a heavier duty type thing. And honestly, I prefer the cheap one versus this one because this one moves. So it's a little harder to use sometimes. But basically that goes on there. And the easiest way to do it is if you put this on there, what you do is you load the puller up. And then what I do, load the puller up, use a small impact gun. You don't want something that's super crazy powerful. And then what I do is I hold the impact, you know, banging on the puller, right? And I take the hammer and I drive on it like that. And you're hitting it. Lots of times you're not going to be on the bench when you're doing it. Now you can pull it out with the arm on it if you want and do it on the bench. Sometimes it's easier that way. Sometimes it's not. Whatever. We did it on the, like on his, the pitman arm pulled off because the pitman arm was loose. There was damage done to it. So anyways, so it wasn't that bad to get off. Most of the time they're ignorant to get off. So you will need a pitman arm puller. I will put a link in the description for the pitman arm pullers, the cheap ones that I prefer versus this expensive one. I think these ones are $300 or $400. And I actually prefer the cheaper one. It's just my cheaper one was broken, so we couldn't use that. So, and then, so yeah, like I said, so this is This is, so the pitman arm on the original pitman arm on the truck wouldn't have been dropped this much. But the on that type of steering, it's going to go in the top, where this style needs to go in the bottom. So anyways, if you're doing it, you need to have the right pitman arm. So just make sure if you buy that kit for your 3rd gen truck, which that kit is off of a 2009 plus, or let's say a 10 above to 13 is that style. So the new T-type steering, just make sure that you're getting the pitman arm as well. I guess what I can do is I can put a link. Not sure if I know how to do that. I'll try to do it. But I'll put a link to the tie rod end, or sorry, the tie rod ends and the pitman arm. And then you also need to change the steering stabilizer if you want a steering stabilizer. So not super crazy. Now, something else that we did do to it, which I always recommend on 1st or 2nd gen and 3rd gen trucks. This is actually for the short box truck. Short box build. I just got it. Just let me open it up here. So this is the steering box stabilizer, and basically, so where you're, and you'll be able to maybe see it in the video a little bit. I don't know how well it came out in the time lapse. I haven't looked at it yet. But basically, your sway bar bolts, where your sway bar bolts to your frame, that's what these mount to. For you guys that have never put one of these on. And then, so you're going to take your nut off of your steering box, off of for your pitman arm. You need to leave the washer, and then you put this adapter on there, and make sure you get this really good and tight. Now, if you're putting a new steering box and a new pitman arm, what I recommend is taking the stock nut and impacting it on there, or make sure you get it tight. And then when you get it tight, what I do is you tap that there again, tap that, hit it with the hammer a few times. You don't need to really drive it, but hit it a few times with the hammer and tighten it again. I pull the original nut off and then put this nut on, and then tighten this one. I think they recommend like 170 foot-pounds. Usually what I do is I go as tight as I can with it, because you want it tight. So basically, you're going to, you take this, you lower your sway bar down. I prefer to do this when the truck is on the ground, because everything's lined up better. But basically what you do is you get this in between the sway bar, get your bolts. It comes with longer bolts. Get these bolts started in there. So you're going to have your sway bar in between. This goes in between the sway bar. So the sway bar will be on this side. The sway bar goes through here. And make sure that you get the bolts started, but don't tighten them. Just leave them loose. You know, start them like, say, 4 threads. And then you're going to put this bearing on. But you have to, so obviously you put this on first. Then this goes through there. You kind of have to feed it through. And then this goes on the bottom. It has 2 set screws. Tighten your set screws. Put these bolts, you know, put the bolts in to hold it ever, and then snug everything up afterwards, just so everything lines up. But this is a must-have on these trucks, in my opinion anyway. Good steering box, whether you're down in the States and you get a redhead steering box, or you're here in Canada, I would recommend Cancraft steering. Here is that's their Cancraft steering. That's their address. There's no phone number on here, but I'll put a phone number on it right now. Actually, maybe I'll put a link to their website in here too. Just if you phone, just let them know you got referred from CUTTERUP Rob. And same with Redhead, just let them know that you were referred from CUTTERUP Rob. You know, buying a steering box. And like I said, for us in Canada, it's the Redhead steering boxes. I don't mind the Redhead steering box. There's nothing wrong with the Redhead steering box. It's just for us to get them here, with shipping back and forth and all that stuff, they become very expensive. Great product. It's just not feasible for us. Cancraft here in Canada, their steering boxes are fantastic. It's just basically the equivalent of a Redhead steering box here in Canada for us. So anyways, that is something that I always recommend, 2nd gen and 3rd gen trucks, because it does make a huge difference. And I'll put a link in the description for one of these as well for 2nd or for 3rd gen. On this one being 3rd gen, we'll do it for 3rd gen. So anyways, I guess that'll be it for this one. I did do an outro, so here comes the outro. Well guys, we got the steering all done and Matt's leaving. Anyways, so we got all that stuff. Well guys, I got the steering all done on the truck and I didn't realize that the, I don't know what happened, but something went wonky with the SD card that we were using. So the outro didn't get filmed. I changed the SD card and it freaked out, I guess. So got the steering in his truck. I'll talk a little bit of it in time lapse. Everything seemed to work perfect. We had to switch around. So I don't know, this is actually something that I've never seen before. Not to say it doesn't happen, but if you look in there, this pitman arm actually looked like it was starting to fracture, which is kind of weird because I've never seen that before. But I don't know, it could just been stress risers or something in it. It's not broken, but, and then it's definitely got some wear marks inside here too from it being loose. So didn't really want to use it. So I had a good one off of this steering box we threw on for him. So that got him fixed up anyways, so that's cool. You know, get him safe back on the road and, you know, it'll be something cool. So this is actually something I'm going to do. This is a steering box I had laying out in the back. It's an old redhead steering box. So we're actually going to, I'm going to rip this one apart and then another one apart. So I can show you guys what the difference is inside this steering box versus a stock steering box for a redhead, or some of the differences. I don't know all of the differences, but just show you a little bit of stuff. Just something, I don't know, something kind of cool so you guys can see. And like I said, I don't know all of it anyway. Just one of those things. I'm sure there's some secret sauce involved. But anyways, like, subscribe, hit me down in the comments. Appreciate my Patreons, and catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.